My name is Jennifer Mason, and for 7 years, I've been invisible to my family. Not physically invisible. I showed up to every holiday, every birthday, every mandatory family dinner. But invisible in the way that matters. Invisible as a person. Invisible as someone who might have value beyond what I could provide. It started small, the way these things always do. When I was 23 and had just started my financial consulting job, Mom called. "Honey, we're having a rough month. Could you help with the electric bill? Just $180. We'll pay you back." I sent the money. He never paid me back. 2 months later, Dad called. "The car payment is due and we're short $450. You know how tight things are." I sent the money. He never mentioned it again. By the time I turned 25, I was covering their mortgage payment every month. $2,100. Like clockwork. They never asked, they just started expecting it. When the first of the month rolled around, Mom would text, "Did you remember?" As if it was my responsibility. As if I was the one who'd taken out the loan on their oversized house in the suburbs. My younger brother Marcus, the golden child, was building his business. Translation. He was burning through investor money on a tech startup that hadn't generated a single dollar in revenue. But according to my parents, he was the successful one. The entrepreneur. The one with vision. My older sister Vanessa ran a boutique consulting firm that was, by all accounts, barely staying afloat. But she drove a Mercedes and wore designer clothes, so in my family's eyes she was thriving. Me? I was just Jennifer. Still doing that finance thing? Dad would ask every Thanksgiving, as if I'd been working at the same entry-level position for a decade instead of climbing to senior vice president at one of the top financial consulting firms in the country. They had no idea what I actually did. They never asked. What they didn't know, what I never told them, was that by the time I turned 27, I wasn't just a consultant anymore. I'd started investing my bonuses aggressively. Real estate. Tech startups. Market positions that most people would consider too risky. By 29, I had a portfolio worth $4.2 million. By 30, I'd crossed $8 million and started my own investment firm on the side. But I drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic. I lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. I wore clothes from Target and brought my lunch to work in Tupperware containers. Not because I had to, because I was testing something. I wanted to see how long it would take for my family to notice me, to ask about my life, to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was more to me than they assumed. 7 years. That's how long it took. And they didn't notice me because they cared. They noticed me because I finally stopped paying. While my family saw me as their personal ATM, I was building something they couldn't imagine. My consulting firm, Apex Financial Strategies, started as a side project. I'd work my corporate job during the day, then spend evenings and weekends managing investments for a small group of high-net-worth clients who appreciated my unconventional approach to risk assessment. The first year I made $180,000 in fees. I reinvested every penny. The second year, $620,000. I hired my first employee, Rebecca, a forensic accountant I'd worked with on a fraud investigation case. She was brilliant, detail-oriented, and shared my philosophy. Numbers never lie, but people do. By year 3, we were managing $47 million in assets for 12 clients. My cut was $1.4 million annually, on top of my corporate salary of $180,000. By year 5, we'd expanded to 23 clients and $180 million in assets under management. I left my corporate job. Apex Financial Strategies became my full-time focus. My personal net worth hit $12 million. I bought a lake house in Minnesota as an investment property. I owned 17 rental units across 3 states. I held significant positions in 6 different startups, 2 of which went public in year 6. My net worth jumped to $28 million practically overnight. And through all of this, every success, every milestone, every triumph, I still drove that Honda Civic to my parents' house. I still wore my Target clothes. I still transferred $2,100 on the first of every month for their mortgage. Plus the $400 monthly electric bill that had somehow become my responsibility. Plus the $300 monthly water and gas. Plus the $1,150 car payment on Dad's truck. Plus the $850 car payment on Mom's SUV. Plus the emergency requests. The $3,800 for new appliances. The $6,200 for roof repairs. The $2,400 for Marcus's business opportunity that went nowhere. I kept spreadsheets. Every dollar, every transaction, every promise to pay me back next month that never materialized. $210,000 over 7 years. But here's what I didn't know until year 6. They weren't just taking my money. They were stealing my identity. Rebecca discovered it during a routine audit of my personal accounts. She'd been helping me organize my finances for tax purposes when she noticed something odd. Credit inquiries I hadn't made. Accounts I hadn't opened. 3 credit cards in my name maxed out. Total balance, $47,000. A personal loan from an online lender. $28,000. A car loan I definitely hadn't signed for. $67,000. We went deeper. Rebecca brought in a private investigator named David Chin, someone she'd worked with on corporate fraud cases. Within 3 weeks he'd traced everything. The credit cards had been opened using my social security number and forged signatures on applications. The statements went to my parents' address. They'd listed themselves as temporary contacts while I was traveling for work. The personal loan had been taken out by my mother with my information to cover Marcus's failed business venture. The car loan was for Vanessa's Mercedes, the one she drove around town while talking about her successful consulting business. Total fraudulent debt in my name, $142,000. Every single one had my parents' fingerprints all over it. Sometimes literally. David found the original loan paperwork for the car, signed with my forged signature. The notary was a family friend who'd apparently witnessed my signature without me being present. That was a felony. Rebecca sat across from me in my office, her expression grim. Jennifer, this is identity theft. This is fraud. This is serious federal crime territory. I stared at the folders of evidence on my desk. 7 years of wire transfers on one side. 7 years of fraud on the other. What do you want to do? Rebecca asked quietly. I looked up at her. I want documentation. Every transaction I've ever sent them. Every fraudulent account. Every forged signature. Every single piece of evidence. And then we wait for the right moment. The right moment came on Easter Sunday. Mom had insisted on hosting at their house. Family tradition, she texted. Don't be late. I arrived at noon carrying a store-bought pie. I'd learned years ago not to put effort into things my family wouldn't notice. Marcus was already there, holding court in the living room about his latest pivot. His startup was now focusing on AI-driven blockchain solutions for sustainable crypto mining. Which translated from bullshit meant he still had no actual product and no revenue. Vanessa swept in 20 minutes late, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly apartment rent, complaining about how slammed she was with client work. Mom had prepared her usual elaborate spread. Ham, 3 types of potatoes, green bean casserole, rolls, salads, and 4 desserts. The table could have fed 20 people. There were 8 of us. We sat down to eat. Dad said grace. We started passing dishes. Then Mom cleared her throat. So, Jennifer, your father and I have been talking. Here we go, I thought. We're getting older, she continued. And we've been thinking about retirement. Dad nodded. We've sacrificed so much for this family. Raised you kids. Put roofs over your heads. And we're tired, Mom said. We want to travel. Enjoy life. But we can't do that with this mortgage payment hanging over us. Marcus and Vanessa were suddenly very interested in their plates. So we've decided, Mom announced, that it would be fair for you 3 to contribute to paying off the house. Split 3 ways, it would only be about $800 each per month. Very manageable. I set down my fork carefully. You want us to pay your mortgage. We want you to help the family, Dad corrected. This house will be part of your inheritance someday. Think of it as an investment. Vanessa jumped in. I think that's fair. Mom and Dad have done so much for us. Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. Family takes care of family. I looked at both of them. Vanessa, who hadn't contributed a single dollar to our parents' expenses in years. Marcus, who was still borrowing money from them monthly. Then I looked at my parents, who'd been taking my money for 7 years while forging my signature on loan documents. Jennifer, Mom said, her voice taking on that sharp edge. You're being very quiet. This is a family decision. A family decision, I repeated slowly. Yes. We all need to contribute. Contribute, I said. That's an interesting word. What's that supposed to mean? Dad's voice had gone cold. I could have let it go. I could have nodded and smiled and continued being invisible. But something shifted in that moment. Maybe it was seeing Marcus and Vanessa sit there so self-righteous, contributing nothing while demanding I contribute more. Maybe it was 7 years of being treated like an ATM while simultaneously having my identity stolen. It means, I said clearly, that I find it fascinating that you're all talking about contribution when... When what? Mom interrupted. When we've supported you your whole life. When we put you through college. You didn't put me through college. I had scholarships and student loans that I paid off myself. We gave you a place to live. Until I was 18, which is literally the legal requirement for parents. The table went silent. Mom's face flushed red. I cannot believe how ungrateful you're being right now. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me, I repeated. Yes. Everything. And you, Mom gestured at me with her fork. You never contribute to this family. You show up empty-handed with store-bought desserts. You never offer to help. You just take and expect us to be grateful that you even show up. Dad nodded. Your mother's right. Marcus is building a business. Vanessa runs a successful company. But you're 30 years old, Jennifer, and we still don't even know what you do. Some finance job that apparently doesn't pay well enough for you to help your own parents. While we struggle, Mom added, her voice rising. While we sacrifice. While we can barely make ends meet, you drive around in your cheap car, living in your cheap apartment, being selfish. Vanessa shook her head. I have to agree, Jen. It's pretty disappointing. Marcus set down his drink. Family is supposed to support each other. That's what we're trying to do here. They all stared at me, waiting for me to apologize. To back down. To promise to send more money. I smiled politely. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. That's interesting, I said calmly. Because I've been documenting my contributions to this family for quite some time now. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. This is a record of every wire transfer I've sent to you over the past 7 years. Mortgage payments. $2,100 per month. That's $176,400. I placed it on the table. Utility bills. $700 per month average. That's $58,800. Another document. Car payments. 2 vehicles. $2,000 per month. That's $168,000 over 7 years, but I only started paying those in year 3, so actual total is $96,000. I kept pulling out papers. Emergency expenses. New appliances. Roof repairs. Medical bills. Car repairs. Property taxes twice when you couldn't make the deadline. That's another $37,800. I spread them across the table like a deck of cards. Total contributions from me, the daughter who never contributes. $210,000. The room was dead silent. Mom's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You can't. I have bank records, I said calmly. Every transaction. Every wire transfer. Every check. 7 years of documentation. We were going to pay you back, Dad said weakly. When? Because according to my records in 7 years, I've received exactly $0 in repayment. Vanessa found her voice. Okay, so you helped out. That's what family does. But throwing it in our faces like this. I'm not finished, I interrupted. I pulled out a second folder. This one was thicker. This, I said, placing it on the table, is documentation of identity theft. Mom's face went white. 3 credit cards opened in my name. Forged signatures. Total balance, $47,000. I pulled out the statements, highlighting where my name appeared with signatures that weren't mine. A personal loan from Quick Cash Lending. $28,000. Also forged signature. Dad started to stand. Now wait sit down, Dad. Something in my voice made him sink back into his chair. And my personal favorite, I continued, pulling out the final document. A car loan for $67,000. For a Mercedes-Benz. currently parked in Vanessa's driveway. Vanessa went pale. Mom said she was co-signing. She didn't co-sign, I said flatly. She used my name, my social security number, my credit. The car is in my name, Vanessa. You've been driving around in a car I'm legally responsible for, and I didn't even know it existed until 6 months ago. This is insane, Marcus said. Mom, Dad, is this true? Mom's hands were shaking. We were desperate. The business had some slow months and we needed to help Vanessa, and we thought you wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind. My voice stayed calm, but I could feel rage burning in my chest. You stole my identity. You committed fraud. Federal fraud. That's a felony, Mom. We're your parents, Dad said desperately. You can't, you wouldn't. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. I checked my watch. Right on time. I stood and walked to the front door. When I opened it, Rebecca was standing there with David Chin, the private investigator. Behind them were 2 more people, a man in a suit and a woman carrying a briefcase. Jennifer, Rebecca said with a small smile. I hope we're not interrupting. Perfect timing, actually. Come in. I led them to the dining room. My family stared at the newcomers like they'd seen ghosts. Everyone, I said pleasantly, this is Rebecca, my forensic accountant. This is David Chin, the private investigator who helped trace all the fraudulent accounts. And this is James Morrison and Patricia Lee from Morrison & Associates, a law firm specializing in identity theft and financial fraud. Mom's wineglass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Rebecca pulled out her laptop and set it on the dining room table, right next to the ham. David opened his briefcase and began laying out additional documents. James and Patricia stood behind them, professional and silent. What is this? Marcus demanded. What's happening? This, I said calmly, is what accountability looks like. Rebecca turned her laptop screen toward my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Mason, I'm going to walk you through something. On this screen, you'll see a complete forensic analysis of your financial relationship with your daughter Jennifer over the past 7 years. She clicked through slides. Each one showed a different category of my contributions. Mortgage payments, $176,400, paid consistently on the 1st of every month for 84 consecutive months. Utility bills, $58,800, covering electric, gas, water, and internet. Vehicle payments, $96,000 for 2 vehicles, neither of which Jennifer drives or has access to. Emergency expenses, $37,800 in various one-time payments for home repairs, medical bills, and other urgent needs. Total financial support provided by Jennifer Mason to her parents, $210,000. The room was silent except for the sound of Rebecca's keyboard clicking. Now, Rebecca continued, her voice professionally neutral, let's look at the other side of this equation. She pulled up a new slide. This one was red instead of blue. Credit card account number ending in 4782. Opened March 2019 using Jennifer's social security number and a forged signature. Current balance, $18,450. Mom made a small sound in the back of her throat. Credit card account number ending in 9021. Opened July 2020. Same pattern. Current balance, $15,230. Credit card account ending in 3387. Opened January 2021. Current balance, $13,320. Personal loan from Quick Cash Lending. Opened December 2020. Original amount, $35,000. Current balance with interest, $28,000. Auto loan for a 2021 Mercedes-Benz C-Class. Original amount, $67,000. Current balance, $52,400. Rebecca looked up from her laptop. Total fraudulent debt incurred in Jennifer's name, $127,400. When you add the interest and fees that Jennifer has been paying on these accounts without her knowledge, the total reaches approximately $142,000. I didn't know it was fraud, Vanessa said desperately. Mom said she was helping me finance the car. I didn't know she used Jen's name. Ignorance isn't a legal defense, Patricia Lee said quietly. It was the first time she'd spoken. You're in possession of property obtained through identity theft. That makes you an accessory after the fact. Vanessa looked like she might throw up. David Chin stepped forward. I'm going to add something here. He pulled out a stack of documents. During my investigation, I obtained copies of the original loan applications. Mrs. Mason, you notarized several of these documents using your friend Linda Patterson, a notary public. Linda has confirmed in a sworn statement that she notarized your signature on documents claiming to be Jennifer, without Jennifer present. He placed the statement on the table. That's notary fraud. That's forgery. And that's identity theft. 3 separate felonies. Dad's face had gone gray. We can pay it back. We'll pay everything back. This is family business. We don't need lawyers and investigators. You needed them the moment you committed federal crimes, James Morrison interrupted. Mr. Mason, Mrs. Mason, I want to be very clear about your legal situation. Identity theft carries a maximum sentence of 15 years in federal prison. Fraud carries up to 20 years. Notary fraud is a separate felony. If the U.S. Attorney's Office decides to prosecute this case, you're looking at very serious prison time. Mom started crying. Jennifer, please. We're your parents. You can't do this to us. I looked at her. For 7 years I'd watched her dismiss me, diminish me, treat me like I was worthless while simultaneously stealing from me. I'm not doing anything to you, I said quietly. You did this to yourselves. We raised you. Dad shouted. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. You owe us. I owed you nothing beyond what I freely chose to give. And I gave you $210,000. What I didn't give you was permission to steal my identity and destroy my credit. Marcus stood up. This is insane. Jen, come on. They made some mistakes, okay? But they're our parents. You can't actually be thinking about pressing charges. I turned to him. Marcus, do you know what my credit score was 2 years ago? He blinked. What? 795. Excellent credit. Do you know what it dropped to after they opened all these fraudulent accounts and started missing payments? Silence. 634. That's below the threshold for good rates on mortgages. That's the difference between buying investment properties at 3.5% interest versus 7%. That's tens of thousands of dollars in lost opportunity over the life of a loan. Their fraud didn't just cost me the $142,000 in direct debt. It cost me business opportunities. Investment opportunities. Real estate deals I couldn't close because I couldn't get favorable financing. I pulled out another document. This is a property I tried to purchase 18 months ago. A commercial building in downtown Minneapolis. The loan was denied because of my credit score. I lost the deal. That building sold 3 months ago for $1.8 million more than the asking price I would have paid. I set it on the table. So when you ask me if I'm thinking about pressing charges, understand that this isn't about holding a grudge. This is about the fact that their crimes have cost me conservatively over $2 million in lost opportunities. The silence in the room was crushing. Vanessa was crying now. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know it was your name on the car. I'll give it back. The car is worth $31,000 now, David Chin said. The loan balance is $52,400. Jennifer would lose money if she took possession. Then what do we do? Vanessa asked desperately. I looked at all of them. My parents, pale and shaking. My siblings, finally understanding that their comfortable lives had been built on my stolen identity. Here's what's going to happen, I said. First, every wire transfer I've been sending stops immediately. As of today, I will not pay another dollar of your mortgage, your utilities, your car payments, or anything else. But we can't afford, Mom started. Second, I continued over her, you have 48 hours to refinance or sell this house. Because without my monthly $2,100 payment, you'll be in default by May 1st. Dad's eyes widened. You can't be serious. Third, Vanessa, you have 1 week to refinance the car loan into your own name, or I'm reporting it to the police as stolen property. I can't get a loan that size, Vanessa whispered. That's not my problem. You've been driving it for 3 years. Figure it out. Fourth, I said, pulling out one final document, you will all sign these repayment agreements. You will pay me back the $210,000 I've given you over 7 years, plus the $142,000 in fraudulent debt you incurred in my name, for a total of $352,000. We don't have that kind of money. Mom cried. Then you'll make payment arrangements. I'm being generous here. I'm giving you 20 years to pay it back interest-free. That's $1,466 per month, split between the four of you. Roughly $366 each. Rebecca placed 4 separate payment agreements on the table. And fifth, I said quietly, if you miss a single payment, I immediately file criminal charges with the FBI for identity theft and fraud. Do you understand? Mom was sobbing now. How can you do this to us? We're your family. You weren't worried about family when you forged my signature, I said flatly. You weren't worried about family when you maxed out credit cards in my name. You weren't worried about family when you stood here 20 minutes ago and told me I never contribute. I picked up my bag. You have 48 hours to decide. Sign the agreements and start making payments, or I go to the FBI Monday morning. I walked toward the door. Rebecca, David, James, and Patricia followed. Jennifer. Dad called after me. Jennifer, please. We can talk about this. I stopped at the door and turned back. We're done talking, Dad. We've been done talking for 7 years. You just didn't notice. I walked out. I didn't hear from anyone for exactly 36 hours. Then my phone started exploding. The first call was from Marcus. Jen, please, you have to stop this. Mom's having panic attacks. Dad can't sleep. You're tearing this family apart. I didn't answer. The second call was from Vanessa. I can't refinance the car. No bank will give me a loan. My credit's not good enough. Please, Jen. I need this car for work. I'll pay you back, I swear. I didn't answer. The third call was from Mom. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Please don't do this. Please. We're your parents. We love you. We made mistakes. Please. I listened to the entire voicemail. Then I deleted it. On hour 47, my lawyer James Morrison called. Jennifer, I'm at your parents' house. They've signed the repayment agreements. All 4 of them. And your father is putting the house on the market tomorrow. Your mother has already started canceling their country club membership and their vacation plans. Vanessa is planning to sell the Mercedes privately and buy something cheaper. Marcus is furious, but he signed. Good. There's one more thing. Your parents want to know if you'll agree to a family meeting. A real conversation. They want to apologize. I thought about that. 7 years of being invisible. 7 years of being used. 7 years of my identity being stolen while they told me I never contributed. Tell them, I said slowly, that I'll consider a meeting after they've made 12 consecutive monthly payments. 1 full year of proving they're serious about making this right. I'll tell them. I hung up. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched from a distance as my family's life imploded. The house went on the market for $485,000. It sold in 9 days for $472,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage balance of $287,000 and covering closing costs and realtor fees, they walked away with about $165,000. They bought a 3-bedroom townhouse in a cheaper suburb for $195,000. They had to take out a small mortgage to cover the difference after the down payment. Vanessa sold the Mercedes for $29,000. She bought a used Honda Accord for $11,000 and put the remaining $18,000 toward her share of the repayment agreement. She still owed $70,000. Marcus liquidated some stocks and scraped together $12,000 as a good faith first payment toward his share. He still owed $76,000. Mom and Dad used money from the house sale to pay off the fraudulent credit cards and loans in my name. My credit score jumped back up to 712 within 3 months. Still not where it had been, but climbing. And on the first of every month, like clockwork, I received 4 separate payments of $366. Mom and Dad's payment came from their joint checking account. Marcus's payment was always exactly 3 days late. I never said anything. Yet. Vanessa's payment came with a different apologetic note each month. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I hope we can repair our relationship. I didn't respond to any of them. 12 months later, James Morrison called again. They've made all 12 payments. Your parents are requesting that family meeting. I sat in my home office. My real home office in the penthouse apartment I'd bought 6 months ago with the investment returns from a tech startup that had gone public. And thought about it. Set it up, I said finally. Neutral location. A conference room. I want you there. And Rebecca. Understood. The meeting was held on a Tuesday afternoon in a conference room at James's law firm. When I walked in, my entire family was already there. They looked different. Mom had aged. There were lines around her eyes I didn't remember. She was wearing clothes from Kohl's instead of Nordstrom. Dad's hair had gone grayer. He looked tired. Vanessa had lost weight. She looked smaller somehow. Diminished. Marcus was the only one who looked the same. Still arrogant. Still convinced this was all somehow unfair. I sat down across from them. Rebecca sat to my right. James to my left. Thank you for coming, Mom said quietly. Her voice was different. Softer. We wanted to tell you. We wanted to say. She broke down crying. Dad cleared his throat. What your mother is trying to say is that we're sorry. We're so sorry for what we did. We didn't think of it as stealing, Mom continued through her tears. We thought of it as family helping family. We thought you wouldn't mind because we raised you and we needed help and we were wrong, Dad interrupted. We were completely wrong. What we did was theft. It was fraud. It was unforgivable. Vanessa spoke up. I've been in therapy, working through a lot of things, and I realize now that I enabled Mom and Dad. I accepted help without asking where it came from. I was willfully ignorant because it benefited me. That makes me complicit. And I'm sorry. I looked at Marcus. He was staring at the table. Marcus. I prompted. He looked up. What do you want me to say, Jen? That I'm sorry? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we took your money. I'm sorry Mom and Dad committed fraud. I'm sorry your feelings were hurt. Is that what you want to hear? Marcus, Dad said sharply. No, seriously, Marcus continued, his voice rising. She wants us to grovel. She wants us to beg for forgiveness. Well, congratulations, Jen. You win. You've made your point. We're all suffering. We've all learned our lesson. Can we move on now? I studied him. Still the golden child. Still believing that apologies were transactional. Say the words, get the forgiveness, return to normal. No, I said simply. His face reddened. What do you mean, no? I mean, this isn't about you learning a lesson, Marcus. This isn't about making a point. This is about the fact that for 7 years, you all treated me like I was worthless. Like I had no value beyond what I could provide financially. I pulled out my phone and opened a document. Do you know how many times in 7 years any of you asked me about my life? About my job? About my goals or dreams or what I was working on? Silence. 0. Not once. Not a single conversation where anyone in this room asked me about me, rather than asking me for something. I stood up. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to continue making your monthly payments. All $366 on time for the next 19 years. And maybe, after you've paid back every dollar you took from me, we can have a conversation about rebuilding a relationship. 19 years. Mom whispered. Jennifer, please. We're trying. We're really trying. I know you are. And I appreciate the apologies. I do. But apologies don't rebuild trust. Actions do. Consistent actions over time that prove you've actually changed. I picked up my bag. When you've finished paying me back, call me. We'll talk then. I walked to the door. Jennifer, Dad called. For what it's worth, we're proud of you. We should have said that years ago. Whatever it is you do, whatever you've built, we're proud. I paused at the door. Thanks, Dad. That means something. And I meant it. But I still left. It's been 2 years since Easter Sunday. 24 months since I stopped paying their bills and started demanding accountability. The monthly payments still come. Mom and Dad on time every month. Vanessa with increasingly shorter notes. Marcus always 3 to 5 days late. My credit score is back to 782. I closed on that commercial property in Minneapolis. A different one, but even better. My investment firm now manages $340 million in assets. I bought a house. A real house with a yard and a view of the lake. I'm dating someone. His name is Michael and he's a professor of ethics at the university. I told him the whole story on our third date, expecting judgment. Instead he said, Boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. I think I might love him. Last month I got a letter from Vanessa. Not a note with her payment but an actual letter. Dear Jen, it said. I've paid off half of what I owe you. It's taken 2 years of working extra clients and cutting every luxury I had, but I'm doing it. And I wanted you to know that it's not just about the money anymore. It's about understanding what I took from you. Not just the dollars but the respect. The acknowledgement. The basic human decency of seeing you as a person instead of a resource. I understand now. And I'm sorry. Really sorry. When this is all paid off, I hope we can get coffee. Just coffee. No expectations. Love, Vanessa. I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. Maybe in 18 years we'll get that coffee. Maybe sooner if she keeps paying ahead. But it'll be on my terms. Not theirs. Because I learned something important over those 7 years of being invisible. You teach people how to treat you. And for too long I taught my family that I would accept crumbs while giving them everything. Not anymore. Now I'm teaching them something different. Respect is earned. Trust is built. And family, real family, isn't about obligation. It's about choice. And I'm choosing myself.